Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and welcome everyone to the review of X-Men 97 Season 2, Episode 9, the season finale, Survival of the Fittest. How is everybody doing out there in podcast listening land? I hope this finds you just doing well. I hope everybody is just at peace, loving life and all that it has to offer. Yes, man, this is the second season to the revival of the X-Men, the animated series from the 90s. X-Men 97, we got season 1 a couple of years ago, which was absolutely phenomenal. It was a really, really surprisingly deep show, yet it was a nostalgia trip, but it was deep, still incorporating social commentary, and you had all the thrills and excitement that you would get from watching the animated show from the 90s and reading the comic books back then and even now, and not so much the movies. But if you're a big X-Men fan, you were completely satisfied, at least I was, with season 1 and what they brought to the table. They really knocked it out the park. So when season 2 came around on July the 1st, I was all in. My expectations were at an all-time high, which is a fault, that's on me, because I try to dampen my expectations on anything I watch, because nothing lives up to them. When you go in not expecting much and you get more than what you expected, you enjoy it more. And when you go in there expecting it to hit this mark and it don't quite get there, it can be good, but you're disappointed, unfairly or fairly, however, it's not right. And then you watch it again, you probably have a greater appreciation. You know how it all goes. Well, my expectations were super high for this second season of the show. Now, with that being said, I also had in the back of my mind, this is a different showrunner this season, different writers came on board. There's a different animation studio. If you notice that, it looked different, it sounded different, and of course it felt different. Unfortunately, that different wasn't good. It wasn't a good difference. It didn't hit the mark. Season 2 did not hit the mark with me. They had some exciting moments. They had some pretty decent episodes. I will say this much about season 2. Season 2 wasn't boring. It wasn't bad. This is what I struggled with trying to put my notes together. I didn't want to come off as being just throwing hate at this season, because I didn't hate the season. I thought it was a really good season of X-Men 97. It just paled in comparisons to season 1. I mean, leaps and bounds. It just did not have that magic. And it's very disappointing, because you have one of the most fierce villains incorporated into this season, with Apocalypse. Apocalypse is like Thanos level villainy, and it wasn't handled right. The season starts off really good. I thought everything that took place in the past, even in the future, when the X-Men was scattered amongst time, was done great. The first 2 episodes, or was it 3? The first 3 episodes were pretty good. I still noticed that it wasn't up there with season 2. I mean, season 1, but season 2 looks like it was going to go in a different direction, but at the same time tried to hold on to what we got in season 1. It was all fool's gold. Once we got back to the quote unquote modern time, where the X-Men were back in 1997, the show fell apart. The season fell completely apart. We went all over the place, and there was no consistent through line. Apocalypse presence was there, throughout the season. Everybody knows that he's a threat. He's going to come to the 1990s and wreak havoc at their most vulnerable and all this here. But we didn't get that. We didn't get none of that. You have Wolverine going on a side mission for an entire episode. You have Nightcrawler going on a side mission for an episode. You have Polaris going, gets her own episode. And all of those were good. But the thing is, we're scratching all of this out and we're not telling the Apocalypse story. And it was lost. And by the time we kind of reeled back into the Apocalypse story, it was all, it was gone. Your anticipation for him was gone, and we still didn't fully get him. We were anticipating Gambit's resurrection. That was teased in the post-credit scene at the end of season 1 with Apocalypse showing up on Genosha after the just genocide there, and pick up one of Gambit's playing cards. And that's how it all went off. And you knew that he was going to resurrect Gambit. Okay, cool. So this is what we got to look forward to this season. Cool, let's get it. We didn't get Gambit till episode 8. Well, or 7 technically, but we didn't really see him until episode 8. And we didn't see our Gambit until the very end of the season finale. It was like, what were they thinking? What were they doing in the writer's room? I don't understand what story they were trying to tell. It just completely fell apart. Now, what season 1 did such a good job of, everybody had their side stories. Going back in season 1, when Storm lost her powers and her and Forge were trying to get her powers back, and their love story and all this was being developed in that little side quest there from that season. Yeah, that was going on. But at the same time, in the same episode, we'll jump back to Jubilee and Sunspot doing something. You know what I'm saying? They found a way to make sure to incorporate the X-Men in every story or every episode. Not this season. It was done half-heartedly. It felt rushed. It felt like they were trying to hurry up and put this season out to kind of cash in on the success and excitement of the revival of season 1. And it failed. Take your time. They could have this could have been a 10 episode season. Give us one more episode, and that way you can have a better story going on. You realize how much stuff was going on this season? You had the X-Men scattered through time in the past and the future. You had Apocalypse, of course, that story. You had X-Force, that story. It was the Weapon X, that story. It was so much going on. And then you had Magneto dying, and that was that. After Magneto died, that's when the show really took a nosedive. When the Magneto died, as great as an episode that was, it was powerful. That was a really, really good episode this season, but it nosedived after that. It was like limping to the finish line after that, and I don't know, man. It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. Our quote unquote final confrontation with Apocalypse in this season finale wasn't even against Apocalypse. He was possessing Gambit. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel authentic. And I did like the aspect of Jean and Scott trying to stop Nathan or Cable from killing Gambit, because in Cable's mind, he's like, look, I'm destined to kill Apocalypse. We have Apocalypse right in front of us. Yes, he's inside Gambit. That sucks. but I gotta do what I gotta do. This is what I'm destined to do. And that conflict there with his parents, or I don't know, uh, 1/6 his parents, however you want to divide it up. They they're trying to stop him from doing this. It was good, but yet and still, it didn't have the impact that you would normally get from this show. You know, going more in depth, exploring their relationship. Now, granted, they don't have one. They don't have one. The little time that they spent together in the past when he was younger, or should I say the future, when he was younger, it wasn't enough time to develop anything. And then when they got back into their present time and realized that Cable is their son, you know, he still didn't have time to develop anything because he was off with X-Force. And so it was like there was no real impact there. And it just, I don't think it reached the heights that people, that the screenwriters and the showrunner here were hoping. And it sucks. It sucks because everything was right there. What separates X-Men from the rest of the superheroes, the Avengers of it all, that go, you know, with Justice League over in DC, all the superheroes. What sets X-Men apart with me is not their power set, is not their mutant abilities, and you know, the social commentary hidden inside of the comics and other media. It's the soap opera element of X-Men, the storytelling element of X-Men. All of their action and their excitement that you would get in comics are there, and it's cool. But what drew X-Men to me, no pun intended, was the storytelling. You know, the links between Nightcrawler and Rogue and Mystique. You know, the links between Charles and Magneto, the relationships with Scott and Jean, you know, all that. It's and it's so much more. It goes so deep in X-Men, and that's why I love it, you know, because everybody's on both sides. They're all fighting for the same cause, but they're doing it in a different way. Whether it's X-Force with the Brotherhood of Mutants, the X-Men, I don't know, X Factor, whatever. They're all good. They're all, well, not good, but they're all trying to achieve the same goal, and that's for mutants to be accepted or be the top of the food chain, whatever, because they're mutants. You know, they just have mutant abilities, and all of them just go about it a different way. And that's why I love the X-Men. And season 1 quenched that thirst for me, whereas season 2 did not. Season 2 just felt like filler. It just felt like, okay, we got to put out a season 2. Let's put out a season 2. I think if they wouldn't have incorporated Apocalypse in the storyline, or just tease him a little bit until we get to a 3rd season or even a 4th season, I would have been cool with that, and we could have did other stories. But unfortunately, they tried to cram all of that up into one season, 9 episodes, where he's not fully Apocalypse for only what, 2? You know, I don't know, man. This was a real big letdown. But with all that being said, I did like it. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. It was really good. It's still a good season of X-Men 97. It just got nowhere near the achievements of season 1. And I think that's what I'm trying to force home here. You know, I'm stumbling all over myself. I'm mad at the show, but at the same time, I enjoyed the show, and I just want to vent my frustrations here, because it could have been better. It could have been just as great as season one had they put forth just a tad bit more effort. But that's just me. I'm still there when season three come through. I'm probably gonna have just as high of an expectation as I did for two, but because I love these characters, I love X-Men. My favorite team, my favorite comic book team. They surpass Avengers and the Justice League and all those other ones in my comic book ranking there as far as a team are concerned. Love X-Men. And so I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. And this is kind of a setback, but it's not enough to say, I'm out. No, it's not that by no stretch of the imagination. But I give X-Men 97 season 2 a letter grade of a B-. Yeah, it could have been so much better, but it just fell short, man. It felt rushed. I gotta keep harping back to that. It just felt rushed. And then when we left off on this cliffhanger here, if you want to call it that, it still didn't have the impact. Even with Nightcrawler making the ultimate sacrifice for Rogue, I didn't feel nothing. That's supposed to be an impactful moment. I felt nothing. The post-credit scene with Mystique, I felt nothing. Because it wasn't earned. None of that was earned to me. Anyway. Maybe it's just me. Because, when I talk to people about certain things, it seems like I'm the only one that think a certain way. I'm kind of crazy that way. But hey, that doesn't mean that we disagree. You don't have to disagree hard, because you may convince me otherwise. You may say something to whereas, well, Kevin, you didn't look at it like this, that yada 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 yada. And I'm like, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I'm open to that. I'm open to all of that. And so, hey, if you want to reach out and try to change my mind, if you feel differently, you can subscribe to the KBRadioNetwork.com website, where you can be notified of all episodes that drop here on the website, as well as previous episodes that we have recorded here on the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about YouTube. You can also subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video while you're there. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Concession Stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me all season long as we reviewed X-Men 97 season 2. It was a fun ride. It was. Even though I was a little let down, I don't regret not 1 second of viewing this show. I still enjoyed it for what it was. But until the next time, I want you all to know I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.